Right, that's it. I'm on my last piece of armour and this is my last life, so just stop it now. Hello everybody, welcome to the Re-Review, the series where I get to replay and reassess games from my favourite gaming era. I'm Brian, also known as UKGN Zoidberg, and I really regret selling my A1200 in the mid-90s. Despite this clearly idiotic decision, although it did pay for my first PlayStation, the Amiga has remained my personal favourite gaming system of all time, and I really enjoy getting to talk about it all over again in these videos. The fact that you seem to enjoy them as well is just the icing on the cake. In this episode, the game that I'm going to be talking about is another one that came out during my time on Games X, although unfortunately it was not one that I personally got to review. That game is Leander, which is another one that was suggested by a viewer over on our Discord. This action platform game was developed by Traveller's Tales and published by Psygnosis in late 1991. Traveller's Tales were founded in 1989 by John Burton and Andy Ingram. Working out of offices in Knutsford in Cheshire, in a building that I actually drove past on my way to work every single day, their focus was initially to make their own games. Working with publisher Psygnosis, Leander was their first game. With Burton handling the programming and Ingram the graphics, this was a showcase for just what the team were capable of. When they brought the game to the Mega Drive, very little had actually changed, apart from the title that is, as it was now called The Legend of Galahad. Sticking with Psygnosis, they would then go on to produce Pugsy, based on a popular Amiga demo called Pugs in Space, as well as the video game adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula. Before you start to cringe though, I should point out that they made the original console versions of the games and not the awful Amiga conversions. It wasn't long before the big names came calling though. First up was Disney, with the 1994 release of Mickey Mania on the SNES and Mega Drive. They followed up the success of that game by producing Toy Story for the Mega Drive, which was praised by everyone for being one of the best looking games on the system at the time of its release. This led to working with Sega themselves, where they produced both Sonic 3D and Sonic R, working alongside Sonic Team. On the PS1 they had an extraordinary list of successes, producing A Bug's Life, Toy Story 2, Buzz Lightyear A Star Command, Toy Story Racer, and my personal favourite, Muppet Race Mania, which I still consider to be the best karting game ever released for the PlayStation. It was around this time that I remember speaking to somebody who worked at the company in my local game store. He talked about the fact that they were so busy making games for Disney that they had to turn down an approach from Lucasfilm to produce a game based on the Phantom Menace. I've no idea how accurate that story is, admittedly, but I can't help wondering if it means that we would have actually got a good game out of that film, rather than the shocking mess that was actually released. During this period, they still found time to produce original games too. Rascal on the PS1 was a very good looking platform game that was sadly stricken with tank controls, and that game was also published by Psygnosis. Then there was also Haven Call of the King on PS2, which was published by Midway. They were also the developer chosen by Universal to bring Crash Bandicoot to the PlayStation 2, firstly with 2002's The Wrath of Cortex, and then 2004's Crash Twinsanity. They did eventually get to make a Star Wars game though, with a title that would go on to become the company's biggest success to date. In 2004, they joined forces with Giant Interactive Entertainment, who held the exclusive rights to make video games based on Lego. The result was Lego Star Wars, which was released initially on PlayStation 2, Xbox and PC in April 2005. It was such a huge success that Traveller's Tales bought out Giant and then merged the two companies together to form TT Games. TT Games has made nothing but LEGO games in the years since, and even ended up becoming part of Warner Bros. Games in 2007. To date, there have been 27 different LEGO games produced by the team, across numerous licenses, including Harry Potter, DC Comics, Marvel, and even Rock Band. Such is the size of the company today that they are now based in numerous offices, with bases in Knutsford, Wilmslow, Brighton, and Maidenhead. The smaller teams within the company, such as TT Fusion, specialise in handling the mobile and handheld versions of many of their games. Now though, let's go back to 1991 and see what the critics thought of Leander upon its release. Leander didn't get so much as a mention on the cover of any of the big Amiga games magazines at the time of its release. The one exception was the exclusive review in issue 27 of Games X, where the game's box art was also the main image on the magazine's cover. It was that issue's Game of the Week with a maximum score of 5 X's out of 5. I can remember the PR rep from Psygnosis bringing the game into the office for review and everybody crowding around the Amiga to try and get a look. This is why I found the apparent lack of interest from the other magazines to be baffling. Not that it didn't score well though. The One gave it 93%, and it also received a score of 91% in Amiga Action, with both reviews being full of praise for the game's graphics, smooth gameplay, and atmospheric soundtrack. The One even suggested connecting your Amiga up to a stereo, if you hadn't already, as the best way to get the most out of the game's soundtrack. Amiga Power, on the other hand, claimed that the music was terrible, and thankfully could be swapped out for some much better sound effects. Awarding it 83% in their review, they stated that although the game didn't have any original ideas to call its own, it was incredibly slick and very well designed. The lowest score that it received was from Amiga Format, who deemed the game only worthy of a quarter page for the full review. They said that although the game was very well polished, it was as derivative as they come, and only gave it a score of 78% overall. From 8 reviews, the average score across all the UK magazines was exactly 88%. On Lemon Amiga, the user score is currently 8.02 out of 10 from 152 votes, with the majority of the scores being given out being 8 out of 10. Now though, it's time to load the game up and see what I think of it. It's time for the playtest. Okay, so this was one of the first games that I could remember that I just use a twin 5-button joystick, where one button would fire your sword and one button would be for jump. So let's do that. Unfortunately, there's also a negative point against this game almost straight away because it gives you have to have sound effects or music. I'm going to leave it on music though because the music is pretty epic. Unfortunately, the sound effects are also quite good, so you are actually missing out by not having them. So there was a pretty peculiar graphical style that Psygnosis games always used to have, where they would use a certain number of colours on each layer to allow for parallax scrolling. And this game is probably the best looking version of that, because it keeps the most colours that the game uses for the actual central character itself, and makes great use of that colour because, as you can see, my armour keeps changing colour and that indicates how many more hits I can take. So this is what the game is like if you're playing it with sound effects. So I honestly see no reason why these sound effects couldn't have been included alongside the music. But, as you can see, enemies do respawn after a short while. Things such as that swinging ball there were pretty revolutionary back in 1991. I don't think I'd seen anything quite like it in an Amiga game. So the first level is quite short and sweet to introduce you to how the game works. As you can see, all I had to do was go and pick up the key and then get to the exit. I think as calling cards go, this is a pretty decent first effort from Traveller's Tales, and mark them out as a developer to watch. Because that crown is what I'm supposed to be picking up on this level. I think the levels are just about the right size in these early stages. You don't want to be getting lost this early on in the game. But it is honestly so much better to play this game with a button for jumping rather than having to push up on a joystick. Yep, but that's the exit to the level, and I have not collected the item that I require yet. So I can't actually jump high enough to get on there. That means I need to fall onto that from a great height somewhere. That's a spider. Or is it? Well, it looks like a spider. Vaguely spider-ish. There were almost no platform games on the Amiga at the time that this game came out that featured
swinging platforms in the same way that this does. Oh, is there something coming out of the ground there? Oh, there is. Blimey, I can't even see that. That's the item that I needed for the exit. So how on earth do I get up there? I don't need to. Apparently, I can still pick up the armor this way. And that's the end of that level. Can't be undersold how annoying the choice between music or sound effects is in a lot of games. Especially when you consider how many games do actually have both. Blind jumps are never good in platform games. Oh, that bird's gonna... Well, not bird, it's a bat. That bat was incredibly annoying then. Okay, I've already collected the item that I need to exit the level. No idea where the exit is though. Because the question is, would the game actually be better if it had an arrow pointing the way to the exit? What else is there? Longsword. Yeah, let's have a longsword. Oh, the longsword seems to fling out a projectile as well. Okay, so there's the exit. That's not a good sign. Right, so I now at least know where the exit is, so I can head there. That's an example there of how it should be, because there was a guard patrolling on the platform below, so I was able to see that there was a platform there because I could see his head. The graphic artists have made great use of their limited colour palette, I must admit. Is there no reason to come down here? Okay, no, that guy was carrying the item that I needed, so yes, so there was a reason to come down here. Thank God for that. So I'm guessing that once I've picked up that item, I need to be climbing back up to the top and making my way left. Right, there is the exit. Is there anything else over to the left? Because surely the game would not have this area over here if there wasn't something, at least, over here to pick up. No, there's a bit of armour. Oh, no way. Die, die, you annoying git. Oh. Damn it, that's full game over. I have no more credits left. I have a high score. Well, okay. Well, that's the going to be the end of that playtest section then. Let's move on and summarise my feelings. I knew that Leander was a game that I liked going into making this episode, but after playing it again, I actually think that it's a game that I like even more. This is despite the fact that it's yet another Amiga game that falls foul of the dreaded music or sound effects option. It's especially disappointing here, as you really are losing out whichever one you select. At least you can switch between the two during gameplay though. This was one of the first Amiga games that I can remember offering support for 2-button joysticks, and the game really does benefit from having a button to jump rather than pushing up on the joystick. In fact, it has a full console-like options page, allowing you to choose the number of lives, the difficulty, and the number of credits that you want. There's a distinct graphical style to a number of Psygnosis games that is often to their detriment, and that's definitely not the case with this one. The central character looks great and is very well animated, and I especially like the use of colour to display the amount of armour that you have remaining. The various backgrounds make good use of their limited colour palette as well, and it all moves incredibly smoothly. It's by no means a flawless game though, and it can often be a very frustrating game to play. Although the level design is generally pretty good, I found that there were too many occasions where you had no option other than to jump blindly into the abyss in the hope that there would be something safe to land on. I would have also appreciated some sort of indicator on screen to let you know which direction the level's exit actually is. When I made the Action Platform Super League video last year, I actually placed Leander towards the bottom end of the recommended section. I would definitely move it up a few spaces today though, to somewhere just inside the top 10. There's a link on screen now and in the description below for the full video if you want to check that out. My score today is definitely going to be 8 out of 10, as it's an incredibly slick, very playable game with an excellent soundtrack. If you actually get to hear it though. That brings us to the end of another episode of the re-review. I really hope you enjoyed it. All opinions expressed in this video are mine and mine alone. I would love to hear yours in the comments. If you've not played Leander, then you can actually download it from the My Abandonware website, and it works perfectly on the A500 Mini. There's a new video about Amiga games every Friday on this channel, and I also now live stream every Tuesday as well. If there's a specific game that you'd like to see me play on the channel, then please feel free to join our Discord and make your suggestions. If you have enjoyed this video, please make sure you give us a like and subscribe to show your support for the channel. VIP members actually get to watch these videos earlier than anybody else, as well as exclusive videos and other perks. It costs just $1.99 a month, so please click the membership tab on the channel for more details. Thank you once again for watching this video, and until next time, happy retro gaming. Bye for now.